You're listening to The Gorge. This is the podcast where my friend Sara and I gorge ourselves on overanalyzing a game or game-related topic. This week we're gorging ourselves on Tales of the Abyss for the PS2 and 3DS.
No! I'm still eating a granola bar, by the
way. I'm super excited for this one.
I'm real fucking pumped because Tales of the I was thinking about this while I was getting my mic out. Tales of the Abyss is the literal embodiment of the really great storytelling, kind of a fucking chore to actually play game. Yeah.
That was actually, bullet point number one is you and I, cumulatively, we've probably spent a third of our friendship talking about just Tales of the Abyss.
And then the other third is, Persona 4.
Yeah.
But yeah, absolutely. Persona 4 and Tales of the Abyss make up an absolutely massive portion of our, 8-year friendship at this point.
Yeah, and which is ironic, because I don't like playing Tales of the Abyss.
I think I would like playing Tales of the Abyss more if I got it on the 3DS, but I'm not sure. Mm-hmm. Because, everything about Tales of the Abyss's gameplay is a fucking chore. Every
problem with this game, literally every single problem I have with this game is a mechanical issue.
Oh my god, right? Because, I was thinking about this, on the build-up to this podcast. It's not just the shit load times, which we'll get into.
Oh yeah.
It is everything. The battle system's kind of sluggish. I realized after a certain point that 95% of the let's say midway through Act 2 gameplay is just backtracking. Mm-hmm. And endless bullshit backtracking. Hopping from one spot to another, to another, to another. All of Act 3 is just one big, long, extended period of boring backtracking. They, in fact, made an entire bullshit side quest be nothing but backtracking with the world's worst fucking travel system.
Yeah.
Everything about Abyss is a fucking chore, and yet I have played it.
5?
Hold on. 4 times. I've beaten it 4 times.
Yeah, I think I've done it 4 times as well.
It is absurd.
I think it's the one I've replayed the most frequently.
Exilia is my most replayed.
Yeah, you played that one 8 times?
5 times, something like
that.
But that's because Exilia is short.
Yeah.
See, that's the thing going for... that's the baffling thing about Abyss in comparison to Exilia, which is my favorite Tales game, probably. Exilia, we've proven, can be beaten in about 20 hours. 18 hours, really. Abyss is a long fucking game. Even if you're burning through it, it's still
even if you know exactly where to go and what to do, and you're spec'd out from the beginning, you have New Game Plus on, it's still there's just a lot of game.
There's a lot of it still clocks in at 25 hours probably, which is absolutely astonishing. Mm-hmm. The game is long, and it's full of backtracking bullshit. The combat is kind of sluggish. The load times are an absolute abomination.
Well, let's just start with all the things that we hate about this game. Let's get them all out of the way right now.
Oh, absolutely.
Number one, first thing ever is, the load times in this game are absolutely atrocious. They're disgusting.
I thought the first time I played Tales of the Abyss, you know this. Yeah. The first time I ever played Tales of the Abyss, I thought my copy of the game was broken. Because I did. I swear to God.
I remember that. I convinced you to buy it.
Yes.
Because you liked Vesperia so much. And I'm like, well, you should play Abyss as well. It's a lot like Vesperia. And then you were like, I can't play this anymore. I think my game is broken.
I thought it was bugged. I thought it was bugged because the first time you ever play the game on the world, the overworld between Ingave and the Cheagle Forest, is the overworld, right? Mm-hmm. And I was walking from point A to point B, and every single overworld battle I was getting in took like 30 seconds to get to that screen and then get back to the overworld. And I swear to God, I thought my game was bugged. And I was like, I can't play this.
It gets to the point where, like, I seriously dread overworld battles because that's a good 20 to 30 seconds of just sitting there doing nothing until the game finally kicks in.
Oh, I literally, when I replay the game, and you know I replay the game a lot, I always keep a full stock of holy bottles.
Yeah.
Like, every town I'm in, I buy new holy bottles for the sole purpose of not having to deal with the overworld. Which means you do a lot of bullshit grinding in the dungeons.
Yeah, because in the dungeons it loads quicker, and it's easier that way. Like, it's atrocious. And the worst part is there are overworld dungeons.
Oh my God.
The absolute... I thought about this. There are 3 points in the game that are an absolute slog to go through, and there are parts that I despise more than any dungeon in Symphonia.
Oh, yeah.
They are the Inista Marsh, because your run speed is cut in half because you're walking through the marsh.
And it's an overworld.
Yeah, and it's an overworld dungeon. There is when you have to split the party up in the desert area to rescue the Albior 2.
Yep.
Because you're on a time limit, you're in an overworld, and your party's split in half.
Oh, God.
And there's the part where your party is split in half again, where you have to outrun the soldiers when the war is going on to escort the civilians across the battlefield.
Oh, my God.
Because it's overworld and the holy battles don't work.
Oh, and don't forget, the other fucking one that sucks is that other overworld one where you're going to the Sephiroth near, not Belkind, the other one. Whose name is, I can't believe I've forgotten the name of this place, but it's not Belkind, it's the other mechanical town.
The one in the canyon.
Yeah, I can't believe I've forgotten its name.
Crap, I forgot the name of it one. Yeah, but
what?
yeah,
I know all of the towns. Anyways, the other town, there's a Sephiroth near there
where you have
in
to,
that
go
canyon.
in and out of different caves, and it's just a big fucking maze.
And you don't know where you fucking are.
Because if you get into a battle, your camera resets, and you lose all orientation of where you're going.
Oh my God, it's awful.
It's terrible. It is mechanically just absolute trash.
It's so slow, and even the camera, like, your move speed is so much slower and shittier in the overworld. And the camera kind of lags when you try to turn it. And maybe, like I said, if we were on 3DS, maybe it wouldn't be complete and total bullshit, because at least the load times wouldn't suck so much.
I do know the load times in the 3DS version are much better.
Yeah, but still, I don't own a 3DS because I'm broke as fuck, and the Tales of the Abyss for the 3DS is really fucking rare, so it's actually really still goddamn expensive, so I'm never gonna play it, probably.
Yeah.
So, my only option is the PS2.
Or you could emulate it, but that's illegal, kids. Don't do that.
Although, I have always wanted to try playing... Do it, fuck. I've always wanted to try... you can, like, preload... This is off topic, sort of. If you get an old PS2 hard drive, because they made those... you can get software that lets you save the games you own onto the hard drive and just play it directly off of that. And apparently that vastly speeds up the load times in Abyss. I've always wanted to try that.
That would do wonders for improving my enjoyment of this game, like, without a doubt.
Right? Like, but I mean, even it can't really save that a lot of the battle system is kind of a chore.
Here's the thing, is, like, I don't like playing as either Luke or Guy. I don't like Luke's art set. I think his arts are all terrible.
Yeah,
and Guy plays like a worse Lloyd.
Yeah. Guy is the more manageable of the two. Yeah. And I always do play as Guy whenever the option presents itself, which is, thank God, 95% of the game.
Yeah.
But no, Luke's art set is fucking awful. And there's no other fucking alternative, because I've tried to play as Jade, and it's hell on earth.
Every other party member is a magic caster, and fuck playing as a magic caster in a Tales game. What are you doing?
Well, Exilia, but that's another story. Exilia makes everything good about Tales.
Exilia is much faster.
Oh, Exilia's so fucking... Exilia's battle system's so fucking good. We'll talk about that later. But, I've tried to play as Jade. It's not fun. Like, the only time you can really play as a caster in Tales of the Abyss and it not be absolute misery is if you've got all of your skills and you have glory, which prevents you from staggering when you're casting. Then it's not absolute hell on earth.
Yeah.
It's actually doable. But even then, it's just not very fun. I mean,
you're not getting up in there. You're not doing the cool things.
You're just kind of standing there. Like, Annis isn't awful, but she's so tanky.
Yeah, she's very
even slow. She's even slower than Luke. I mean, ugh. And then there's Tyr and Natalia, which, don't talk to me.
Why would you ever want to play as a healer in a Tales game?
Oh, God. Why would you ever want to play as a healer with a bow and arrow in a Tales game? My God. Natalia is my favorite character in this game, and she is she is misery to play as. I mean, because...
Trying to do her Coliseum battles is just like, forget it.
No, fuck it. Just don't even fool with it. You only get a costume if you beat it as Jade anyways, so fuck it. Don't do it with anybody else.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Just fuck it. Who cares?
Fuck it. Play as Guy, enjoy the game at least a little bit that way.
Yeah.
You know, he's like the midway point between Lloyd and Yuri, and it just kind of like it's not awful, but it's not great.
Yeah, it's to be fair, it's them trying out something new with the free
it
roam
is the first,
and
first game with free run.
Yeah,
so it's
the first like transition game for when they really they went from the bare bones of Symphonia to the landing on their feet that was Vesperia. So it was, but it doesn't make it any excusable. It still sucks.
It's still a chore.
But that's not why you play Tales of the Abyss. You don't play Tales of the Abyss for the gameplay. You play it because God damn.
Holy shit. That writing though. Right?
The writing, the characters, the world, everything about this game's strongest points are in its storytelling and character development.
Oh my God.
We talked about this a lot with Symphonia, how like the strong points of Tales games are always their characters. Holy fuck, is Abyss's cast great.
Abyss's cast is probably the strongest, like, character writing in the series.
Yeah.
And I don't mean that. I think that Exelia, because Exelia is my favorite Tales game, Exelia has the most likable cast, but... and this brings up the most important point of Tales of the Abyss, and I told you I was going to say this last night, but it needs to be said. Tales of the Abyss is the story of 5 assholes and Guy Cecil learning to like each other and save the world. And it is the most effective kind of storytelling you will ever see in the Tales series, because it really is a bunch of morally reprehensible, impossible to like people. And I mean every single one of them except for Guy, and even Guy has his moments. Every single one of those characters starts out as a complete and total ass.
Yeah.
And by the end of the game, they have all undergone such massive character development that they are barely recognizable from where they began. And I mean that in a good way.
Yeah. Oh, it's great. Like, I think the Vesperia cast is cooler overall, but there's no doubt that the Abyss cast wins for just like the best character development and growth.
Absolutely.
And backstory and everything about it, just like nailing it.
I mean just the way they, and I mean it's such a risky gamble, because in the beginning, a lot of people have told me, when you start playing Abyss, you don't want to keep playing it, because why the fuck would you? Everybody's so rude.
Your main character is such an asshole.
Right? He's a whiny, arrogant child who spent his whole life being sheltered. He's a spoiled little rich kid that you can't like. Tyr is cold and unfriendly. Jade is Jade. Jade is Jade. He's a sarcastic, snarky liar. Annis is greedy and rude. She's catty. And Natalia is a control freak. I mean, every single one of them, you meet them and you're like, how can I like any of you?
Natalia's introduction to the party is probably the rudest I've ever seen a character join the party ever.
Oh my God, right?
It's just the most, it's the sheer rudest, arrogant, like, conceited, stuck-up way I've ever seen anyone join the main team.
The audacity of that girl when she joins, and she's so rude, and Annis is so on point. She says, does anybody want me to tear Daddy's little girl a new hole?
Yeah.
And I'm like, yes, please. And by the end of it, like I said, Natalia is my favorite character in this game.
Yeah.
And I can't... I mean, it is such a gamble because you really run the risk of... And I mean, a lot of people have done it. You run that huge risk of people going, I don't want to play this game. I don't like these people. Why would I care about anything that happens to them? And once you get past a certain point in Act 2, when everybody kind of starts having these kind of coming around moments to really warming up to one another, and you in turn warm up to them, they're still not great people, but it's in a better way.
It makes them it doubles down on making them even more endearing when they do finally grow up, because you got to watch them from the beginning being just complete garbage.
Yeah, if you have characters that are likable from the start, then, I mean, they're just likable.
Yeah.
You know, there's not a lot of, there isn't a lot of room to really warm up to them.
I mean, you can make them
really...
more likable, but, it's the dramatic shift from being completely unlikable to, the most endearing and honest people ever. It's so much more meaningful when it starts off that way, and that's why Abyss's writing is so strong.
Oh my god, and it is so strong. Because every time, we did that failed LP because our audio fucked up, which is such a tragedy.
We'll try it again maybe sometime.
Someday, when we're both, when we get really drunk again.
Yeah.
Super drunk, doing a major 24-hour long analysis of Tales of the Abyss was probably one of the highlights of my life.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, when you and I were replaying it, and every time I do a replay afterwards, just the amount of kind of neuroses and very human reactions to the world around them that they squeezed into Tales of the Abyss is so impressive every single time you replay it. I mean, the storytelling and the character writing in Abyss has really never been reached again by the series, as much as I like it. It's
one of the
really
it's a very grounded Tales game compared to the rest of them, which is very high fantasy or high sci-fi.
Yeah.
You know, it's a
absolutely.
very different approach, and it's like you said, it's a very risky gambit for a series like the Tales series, which is known for being super high fantasy.
Yeah, absolutely, but it's a very for all of the hijinks and the fact that it still has a squeaky voiced mascot character, it's a very grown-up way to see a fantasy world. Mm-hmm. It's a very grown-up approach on a Japanese fantasy universe that I really enjoy. I mean, I think I'm just sitting here thinking about all of it while we're talking, and I mean, just the way characters were handled, the way politics are handled, the backstabbing, the fact that all countries have these very deep lore built in, is really impressive.
It is. I don't mean to be cliche, but it is Game of Thrones-esque in the way it handles its politics and its morality.
Absolutely, it's a very morally gray thing, and the way it kind of handles the ultimate theme it's going for, which is, do we control our own destiny, or are we all just kind of slaves to fate? It does a really good job of never really answering that question.
This is something that I could probably spend an hour talking about, so I want to save it for later. But I do want to get in. Eventually, I want to get into what exactly the score entails, because I will think about this before I go to sleep.
Oh yeah,
what the score actually means. But for now, I want to do what we did for Symphonia, which is break down the party members.
Yeah.
Because that's a really neat way of doing it, and we get to illustrate why we like all these characters.
And there's only 6 this time compared to
the 9 of Symphonia.
Oh my god, there's only 6, so it's much more digestible.
Yeah. So we'll start off with, of course, Luke, who is probably, to me, one of the most endearing protagonists in the Tales series.
He's my 3rd favorite. Behind Mila, who's my 1st, and Lloyd is my 2nd. And that's because Mila and Lloyd are more your standard kind of strong, likable. There's a difference between really thinking a character is cool and really connecting with a character. Yeah, exactly. Mila and Lloyd are cool to me. Yeah. Luke is so human. Yeah. Luke is so human compared to everybody else.
As someone who suffers from depression and from anxiety and stuff like that, seeing a more, not exactly 100% accurate, but seeing a more human and subdued approach to that kind of mindset was really endearing for me as that character.
Yeah, because it's not a thing you see approached a lot, and I mean, it wasn't handled in like the most 100%, realistic way.
Yeah.
But
it's an anime game, so you don't expect that.
Yeah.
But they did a good job of presenting it in a much more grounded way than you would expect in a game like the Tales series.
Yeah, exactly. And Luke is so just... He starts out, obviously, as the least likable person in the cast.
Yeah.
He's so just... God, just... the first time you asked me to play this game, and I'm playing it with this character, and I've gotten past the fact that my game isn't broken, it just plays kind of not great, and I'm playing as this character, and I'm going through Act 1, and I'm like, what am I doing?
And it's, like, you have to be like, no, trust me.
It gets better. I know, you've got to keep reassuring somebody when they play this game. Like, no, I promise I am not leading you astray.
It'll pay off.
Just stay with me. I would not lead you down any wrong path. This game is really just that good. And it honestly does pay off.
Yeah.
Man.
I think out of a lot of JRPGs I played, a lot of games in general, I think this has the most jaw-dropping gut punch plot twist in any game I've played.
Oh, right.
And it is compounded by the fact that Luke is so unlikable at the beginning, because if he was a sympathetic character, it wouldn't have worked half as well.
No, totally. I think the Axarius plot twist and the replica plot twists are so... Because it really makes you have to really stop and not just think about this character, but about yourself. Because at this point in the game, you don't like Luke.
Yeah, it's before Axarius, you straight up, there's nothing endearing about Luke.
No,
there's nothing redeeming. There's nothing great about him. Eventually, you kind of soften on him because you get used to his dickishness.
Yeah, he's like your asshole friend.
Yeah, but you never really truly understand or respect it for a while, and then Axarius happens, and then you are faced, because the party is split evenly between, is Luke sympathetic or do you shun him?
And the thing is, it really makes you have to stop and go, okay, this character is an asshole, yes, and this character is unlikable, and he refuses to accept responsibility for what he did. But the question is, even as much of an asshole as this character is, does he deserve this?
Because, he doesn't accept, for what he did. Could you?
No!
Could you be
not.
like, no, that was my bad?
Might be. No, of course not. And it really makes you go, no, nobody deserves this. Not the biggest asshole you know
of course
deserves to have this.
Yeah, of course he doesn't accept it. He's still trying to comprehend what happened.
Exactly, and it's so... And you're kind of in the same state. You don't really get what's going on. You're still just like, what the fuck just happened? Yeah. So, because, you knew Van was evil, of course, because you have a functioning brainstem, but, you didn't expect it to be that kind of plot twist.
You didn't expect it to be so direct.
Yes, and so violent.
Yeah, here it is.
Here it is. Here is the plot twist. Here's Van pulling off one of the evilest things in a game with probably, at least in the Tales series, the highest body count of any villain's actions. Yeah. Because the neat thing is that world building in Tales of the Abyss is so strong. We know the population for every city in the game, and there are 52,000 people living in Axarius at the time.
And just gone. They're
all
dead.
Gone. That amazing to me.
Just holy shit. And that is such a turning point for that character. And it's just it's just so solidly written and solidly handled. Because the party is divided on whether or not, even Luke, even Tyr and Guy, who are, kind of shunning him, or like, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, trying to hold him responsible for it. They're still sympathetic to him because it wasn't real, because he was tricked into it.
Yeah,
he didn't know what he was doing.
Yeah, I mean, he's a kid. He's literally a kid. Yeah. I mean, he's literally a child. He's 7. Okay? I mean, he has no idea. And so you're so on the fence about how to handle this, because it's like he's an asshole, but nobody who's just an asshole, who isn't evil, he's just kind of a jerk. Nobody really deserves to have this done to them by somebody they genuinely trusted and saw as a major important figure in their life.
Yeah,
and to have be completely cast aside by that character immediately afterwards is so just like, ugh, so sad. It's so sad when you like really think about it. You're like, oh my god, it's awful. It's so rough.
It's like incredible, just like how the quick 180 on that character to becoming one of the most endearing protagonists ever. And why does he have to be dying all the time?
I don't know. Why is life so hard on Luke von Fabra? I mean, honestly, like, and so man, it's just like, I'm trying to like really put it into words, because after, and then the other thing is too, you're so mad, he's so frustrating in the first act, and then in the second and third act, he goes back to being frustrating for completely different reasons. You want him to be happy, and you want him to learn to live with himself, and he's just so down on himself. You're like, you want to shake him and just be like, snap out of it, damn it. Things will be okay, and then things never are okay.
Really,
that's the other fucking thing about, that's the other fucking thing about Tales of the Abyss. It's never fucking okay.
So
the game's a total downer.
Yeah. It's great. Like, just his. Like, I go on and on about his growth as a character, because he does so much of it, and he has so many. Like, none of this is his fault. This kid just gets wrapped up in all of this, and he's the most important person ever by the end of it, and he didn't ask for any of this. He's not gung-ho about this the way that Yuri or Lloyd are.
I know, he's not, like, he doesn't necessarily really even want to be, like, this major hero character. He doesn't want to be God. He doesn't want to be, like, a symbol of justice or whatever. Yeah. He just wants to make things right. And it's like, how do you even make things right when you helped kill 52,000 people? Mm-hmm. Or, just...
he doesn't have the ambition that the other characters have, and
and all he really wanted was just walk away from all of this alive and in one piece.
Everyone keeps throwing more responsibility on him, and he doesn't have the self-esteem to say no.
Yeah, don't you feel so sick, that part where, like, all the kings ask him to die for them? Does that not make you just physically
you feel twisted
nauseous?
Inside.
Yeah, it's so fucked up, because it's just like, man, what do you think he's gonna say? Like, of course he's gonna say yes. You know
him, like, they know him, like, well enough by this point to know what his personality and what his overall attitude towards his own existence is. So, yeah, you're asking him to do it knowing he's going to say yes.
I mean, of course, it's just so, like, it's fucked up, man. Be nice to Luke. Jesus, the whole game, I mean, after Act 1, the kid almost never catches a break. Mm-hmm. And, I mean, the writing is so solid. But I do understand why fans of Abyss were... Because the person who wrote Abyss wrote Symphonia. A lot of people afterwards were saying that Mashita? I can't remember her name right now. Were saying, like, she doesn't know how to write a happy ending anymore. And I'm like, you might have a point. So, like, yeah, it's just so, he's not my favorite protagonist, but he's probably one of my favorite characters, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. I don't know. He's just so, like, the writing is so strong, and the way they handle his character arc is amazing. I think his resolution at the end of the game is one of, like, the more, like, emotionally awesome moments in any game ever. Mm-hmm. Like, especially that part at the end where everybody's talking to him before he dies.
Yeah.
Like, after the final boss is amazing. I mean, just oh my god, that whole scene is just incredible. Because it's such a final culmination of where he started and where they've all ended up. Mm-hmm. And, I mean, you could just, like, you watch it and you're just like, you just want to cry because it's so good. Oh my god. It's just, like, it's such a journey, more so than any other character. You really feel like you're really growing with Luke in a way that you never really grow with the other Tales protagonists, because they are all they're not, I wouldn't call them static, but the
part of their
level,
development's already been rooted when you first meet them. Whereas Luke is much more of a blank slate. Yeah, a lot of their development is it's there, but it's not as strong and not as major as Luke's. Which is I guess what makes his story so punchy, is that it's I mean, you play as Luke the whole game, even if I am technically playing as Guy in every battle. You play as Luke the whole game, and you really get a good sense of who he is from the beginning to the end. And I mean, that's a really cool, I don't know, you just get a really good insight into who he is as a person. Next is one of his Luke's only emotional pillars in the entirety of the series, Tyr. Who is probably the best and most useful healer in a Tales game, period.
Ever. Tyr, not even, like, just from a gameplay standpoint, Tyr is definitely probably the best healer. No, Elise. Elise is still the best healer character in Tales games.
Elise is pretty good,
because her art set is pretty fucking OP. Holy shit. Because she's got light and dark arts, oh my god, but Tyr is a good close second because she is unstoppable, holy shit.
More white mages should be assassins.
I agree. We need to bring that trope back, or we need to, like, kind of keep that trope going, because, you need to have a healer character who can also who literally wears throwing knives on her stockings. Yeah. That's awesome.
Tyr is, again, her growth and development is great. Her connection with she is more of the focal point, but connecting the heroes and the villains than Luke is.
Yeah,
that's her brother and her teacher.
Yeah, and it's as close. The game really does a good job of, however close Luke feels to Van, Tyr obviously feels, because he literally raised her. Yeah. Her mother died when Hod was destroyed. So he's as much her father as he is her older brother, and I mean, every time you hear them talk, it's very, you get the sense that she's just so disappointed.
Yeah, exactly.
Not even angry. I mean, angry of course, but even more so, just so disappointed and let down. And, I don't know, it's so, again, it's very human.
Yeah.
That's the thing that's going to come up a lot in this, is, Jesus, they're all very human people, aren't they?
Human characters.
I know, like, they're not caricatures at all. I mean, Tyr starts out so, I mean, she's cold.
Yeah.
I mean, she's ice cold. There's parts in the opening of the game where, I mean, she's so rude, and it's like, if you had handled the situation in a way that was more emotionally open, then maybe things had turned out differently. You know, the blame for what happens at Exariuth really falls on everybody's shoulders in a way.
Yeah.
And Tyr is one of those people of the main cast. She's obviously, because if you had been a little bit more emotionally open and hadn't been so closed off to Luke and to everybody,
then he would have trusted you more, and he probably would have let more people in.
Yeah, exactly.
Luke's gotten so used to people not listening to him that that's what happens.
Yeah, exactly. Not to go back to Luke, but that is kind of a thing he says a lot. He said when he's, probably one of the most, like, important conversations in the game is the part after they get Van out of prison in the cell underneath the castle at Batical, and he's saying, and I think Tyr is eavesdropping.
Yeah, Tyr, she is.
No, it's Natalia.
Yeah, Natalia. That's why she joins the party.
Yeah, exactly. He says, you know, like, you're the only person who's ever listened to me enough to scold me. And it's like, oh god. Like, if anybody, you know, so that's the thing, is she never really listened. She was so much more sure in the way she was raised, in the way that, Major Legretta taught her to be, and she thought that was the only way you could be.
And that's...
to be strong.
And that's, she completely pulls a 180 on that and becomes one of the most sympathetic characters to the rest of the party.
Oh my god, that line before all of the replicas die on the Tower of Rem, she says, if the world has a problem with you, then the fault lies with the world and not you.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my god, that line is so good! The writing in this game is so good. That's such a different line for Tyr after all of this game, the way she was at the beginning of the game and the way she is at that moment on Rem, which is one of the most emotionally wrenching parts of the game. Oh my god. And so that line is so punchy because it's such a huge change from the person she was to say, because she was always saying, Luke, this is your fault, or, Luke, why don't you know this, or why don't you do this, why don't you understand how money works? Of course he doesn't understand how money works. Not that she knew that at the time, but, whatever. And then by the end of the game, she's saying, well, listen, if the world can't accept you, then that's its fault, it's not yours.
Yeah.
That's so great.
And there's also that part before that, where she tells Luke that she'll never forgive him if he goes through with this.
Oh, I know.
And then when she finds out he's okay, she immediately abandons that line of thought, totally.
Oh, I know.
That's you expect the first bit, where she's cold about it.
Yeah.
And, the second bit is such a good indicator of how she's developed as a character.
I know, where she's just, so immediately ready to let go of that pettiness and just be happy that he's alive at all is so good. Because it's such a... I mean, it's too easy, I think, in a lot of games, they take that approach of, here's the cold, bitchy character, right? The cold, bitchy female character. Well, we're gonna warm her up and make her more maternal or sisterly or whatever. And they always kind of approach it in the same way. And it's always if it's done right, it's okay. But I think the way they handled Tyr's softening is a so much more genuine way, because she's still kind of unsure about herself and her own openness, but the way she kind of softens toward the rest of the party and toward Luke in particular.
Well, she does it without abandoning her professionalism.
Yeah, exactly. She never kind of becomes too over the top.
Yeah.
And she never turns into a caricature of herself, which is really important. She's just great. She's just great. It's just the whole part on the Tower of Rem, I could cry I could cry literally thinking about it. The part where it literally looks like Luke's about to die and it cuts to her character model holding her head she's freaking out is amazing, because it's just so it's such a huge emotional turning point for her, because again it's these moments of culmination where it's kind of Rem is the ultimate. It's the moment the whole game is kind of building toward.
Yeah.
Because this moment where everybody goes from, I don't care what happens to you, to, I am deeply invested in what happens to you, and if something bad did happen to you, my entire life would be ruined.
And you aren't sure what's going to happen.
Yeah.
You don't have a guarantee of whether or not, what events are going to play out at the Tower of Rem.
You have no guarantee, honestly, because they've done such a good job up until that point of establishing that Luke is a literal carbon copy of Ash, right? There is no guarantee, really, that Luke would have survived.
Yeah, I mean, they pulled, and they have the precedent with Symphonia.
Exactly.
Whether, because you can replace Kratos with Zelos. They have that precedent set up.
So there really is no, and the way the game has been written, and the way the game has been kind of, not, I wouldn't say cavalier, but very willing to kill off major characters that you've become attached to. The way the game is willing to do that, and again, with the precedent they set with Symphonia, there is no guarantee that Luke survived that. Because they have established that he is literally a replacement for Ash. So, there really was a thought in your mind, am I going to finish this game as Ash?
Yeah.
No way. Like, there's no way. But fortunately, they didn't go for that because I can't stand Ash.
We'll get into him later.
But Rem is such a huge, important. The whole game builds towards Rem.
And it all just ties back into, like, Tyr's development as a character, and, again, just the amount of growth she goes through in this game is incredible. I keep forgetting she's 16, too, doing all this.
She's so mature.
Yeah.
Because, and again, it's handled in a really good way. It's too easy to make these characters who are 17 and 16 and 18, 13, 23, and 35. Yeah, that's everybody's age. I'm good. And, no, excuse me, Guy is 21.
Yeah.
But, it's too easy to just make these characters mature, mature before their years kind of thing. And just walk, just say, like, oh, well, they're not, they act like they're 20, but they're actually 16 because, whatever. They actually do make these characters seem like 16 and 17-year-olds with the weight of the world on their shoulders.
They show characters who were forced to grow up early.
Yeah,
and how that affects them.
Because they do still kind of fixate on little petty things, too, and they doubt their own self-worth, and that's a very teenager thing to do. So, yeah, she's 16, and you forget it, but every now and then the game reminds you in just little simple ways. Her love of cute things, for one. And just, like, she gets jealous, and she gets her feelings hurt, and she, gets mad. She gets mad when Luke says she isn't cute. Stuff like that. That's very, it's so 16-year-old.
It's really good. And you know who doesn't have any of that problems is your favorite character.
Oh my fucking god.
Jade!
Jade Curtis, the most piece of shit character in this game. And I mean that even more so than the main villain. Is there a protagonist character in a game more openly sinister and awful than Jade Curtis? Because frankly, I can't think of one right now.
You got me. Like, Jade's such a dick.
He's such a dick.
You piece of shit. You're 35. You're not old.
He's such a piece of shit. Like, and even he gets really good development in the game, though. I mean, we joke a lot about Jade being an asshole, and he never really stops being an asshole because that's his whole character. But like, by the end of the game, he does still get his softening moments that everybody gets, and they handle it so well. Yeah. Oh my god, he never really stops being an asshole, but he does kind of. He's more like... He
develops other personality traits along with being an asshole. His asshole level never goes down. The other stuff goes up.
Exactly. His more sympathetic parts become more easily identifiable by the end of the game. God, though, what an asshole, right? What a fucking asshole.
What a dick.
What a dick. I will never forget... And it took me, 3 playthroughs to get it. And it is the absolute, it is the pinnacle of what an asshole Jade Curtis is. And it took me so long to realize it, but the part, and I've told you this before, but I'm going to just get it back out there, because we talked about this game so much. The part on Tartarus, right after, the God General's attack, right? Mm-hmm. And it's Luke and Jade and Tyr versus Ash and Legretta. And Legretta takes out Luke and Tyr, right? She uses some magic bullshit to knock them out. And Legretta takes point behind those two, and Ash lands in front of Jade with his back toward the camera, but he's facing Jade. Do you know how long it took me to realize, that's the exact moment Jade saw Ash's face and knew that Luke was a replica.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Jade knew the whole time.
Jade knew literally from the beginning.
Jade is like R2-D2 in that R2-D2 knows everything, but refuses to tell his buddy Luke.
Because he's a dick. Yeah.
Because he's an asshole. And he will take advantage of that situation.
It took me so long to realize that, because the first time I played the game, I didn't really absorb it, and by the time you see Ash's face outside of Batical, after that really awesome cutscene where Luke and Ash fight, there's those really important shots of everybody reacting to Ash being, oh, well, he looks exactly the same as Luke. And then they show that shot of Jade, who doesn't look surprised at all.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, because he knew he was a replica. And I was like, okay, he knew that. But the fact is that the player finds that out toward the ass end of Act 1. And that scene where Jade sees Ash's face is at the very beginning of the game.
Yeah.
So by the time you're at the ass end of Act 1, you've forgotten about this
if
scene.
you even noticed it at all.
Exactly. So then you go back and you do a playthrough, and again, it took me like 3 playthroughs to notice. But when I noticed it, I've never been so angry in my entire life. I was like, you motherfucker. You knew all along.
Jade is the worst victim of the Tales of Protagonist syndrome of the it's nothing curse.
Oh my god.
He's the worst at it.
Take a drink every time Jade Curtis says it's nothing. Yeah. I promise you'll be dead.
Every time he withholds important information for no reason.
Oh my god. And it's because, again, here we are with the character development. At the beginning of the game, Jade just assumes, because he is literally the smartest guy in the room, and probably the whole game, like literally the entirety of their planet, Jade Curtis is almost certainly the smartest of all of them.
Mm-hmm.
Because of that, he just thinks, well, I know better. I don't need to tell anybody. You know, like, I just know, so why should I tell anybody? You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
And it's that arrogance. It's, again, it makes him, I mean, everybody likes Jade when you first meet.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Everybody I know, every time I see it on Tumblr, every time somebody sees Jade for the first time in Abyss, they instantly like Jade.
Because Jade's still an asshole, but he's like the only asshole that you actually enjoy seeing in the beginning. He's such a breath of fresh air for the rest of the party.
He's funny. I mean, he's genuinely funny. I mean, all of his lines are, especially helped along by the fact that Kirk Thornton's voice acting is amazing.
One of my bullet points is Kirk Thornton is a god amongst men when it comes to voice acting. Like, he nails that character so hard.
He makes that character would not be remotely as likable as he is without Kirk Thornton. Mm-hmm. And I mean that with all my heart and soul. Without Kirk Thornton, Jade would just be that asshole that you can't stand to be in the same room with for too long. But with Kirk Thornton, he just gets so much more. He's funny.
He's hilarious.
Like, the line readings are so good. I can't even think of... I mean, it's been so long since I played, for one. I need to replay the game. But for two, I mean, he has so many good line readings in that game. Just, you know, I mean, all of them. What's the worst, you know, the worst thing that could happen is that we all die.
Yeah, which is the best battle intro quote ever.
Absolutely. He's so, I mean, so because of that, you know, everybody likes Jade when you first meet Jade. And then you kind of get to know Jade, and you're like, you fucking asshole.
Yeah. Then you hate Jade for a while.
And it takes a really long time to warm back up to Jade, because it kind of does, like, the whole cast kind of does this weird flip where you start out where Luke is the least likable person and Jade is the most likable person, and by the time the game we get to, again, the culmination of everybody's character development, aka the Tower of Rem, it's gone a complete 180, because now Jade just seems so disgusting.
Yeah.
You know? He just seems so like, you knew all of this stuff, and you knew everything that was going to happen. You know about what they're going to ask him to do, and you're going to ask him to do it too, and he just seems so, like, unlikable.
Yeah,
you know?
it's just like any endearingness from him being the smarmy prick that he is, like, goes away when you realize, oh, he's still like that even when it's serious.
Yeah, and again, fortunately, he kind of gets that moment. I mean, that part where you do where you talk to all of the characters before Rem, and everybody's got one.
Yeah.
Where, you know, they all don't want Luke to die. I think Jade probably has one of the better.
Yeah, Jade's really stands out.
His is very, because he apologizes.
Yeah.
And he says, oh, I have to think about this pragmatically, because if I was in Peony's position, if I was an emperor, of course I would ask you to die, because one person, you know, choosing one person's life over a million people's lives, obviously I'm going to ask you to die. But and he says it, he says, as your friend, he says, as your friend, oh my god!
Yeah, he says, I think it's, as your friend, I feel compelled to stop you.
Exactly! And then he apologizes. He
Yeah.
just says, I'm sorry, Luke. And he says, Luke literally says the thing we've all been thinking this whole time, which was, I didn't even know you thought of me as a friend.
Yeah.
And and Jade's like, oh, I'm sorry. Like, I didn't mean to make you feel, I knew I was making you feel that way, but now here we are in the moment right before you die, or you could die, and I really, I don't want you to die, and I'm really sorry that you thought this whole time. It's amazing. It's so amazing! Oh my god!
Jade's such a good character, and
his writing is so good.
The way he handles post-Ictarius with Luke, where he just straight up ignores him for a while,
I know, right?
is great.
It's so good.
Not only is it funny, but it's totally what he would do.
Oh, absolutely. It's so in line with his character, because he does not know at all how to handle, because of his character writing, the way he's been handled, he has no idea how to handle emotional things like that. I mean, he literally doesn't.
Yeah.
He's 35 years old and still can't comprehend death.
Yeah.
He still can't wrap his mind around, oh, someone dies, that means that's the end of it for them.
Yeah.
So of course shutting Luke out emotionally is the way to handle it. That's the only way he knows how.
Mm-hmm. Just he has to bury his emotions.
Exactly.
He refuses to bury anyone who's dead.
Holy shit. Oh, you motherfucker. And then you go in, when you're 12 years old, you make the hardest goddamn boss in the game, you asshole. Fuck.
Oh, that motherfucker.
Oh, that motherfucker. I beat that, I fought that shit on unknown mode, and I wanted to kill myself.
Oh, I had to do it on very hard so I could get the costume, and I'm still just like, oh, fuck this.
Oh god, unknown is so much worse, because it's literally a 40-minute battle.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it's terrible.
It's awful. You go in, you have to bring both healers, and Jade and Guy, and you just pray the whole time. You spend a lot of time in prayer and burning through items. Holy shit.
And really hoping you can pull it off this time.
Oh my god. It took me 3 tries.
Yeah.
I think it took me 3 tries. Yeah. Oh my god. It was awful.
I had to call you for moral support.
I know.
We Skyped it.
I know.
I needed backup.
You turned your computer toward it. You turned your webcam toward the screen. I could barely see what was going on, but fuck, you need the moral support to get through the Nebulum fight. Oh my god.
It's all Jade's fault.
It's all Jade's fault. That's the point. The whole game is Jade's fault. How about that?
Really, you can sum up a lot of the backstory for this game with, unfortunately, Jade was there.
Oh god, because here's the thing, it took me so long to realize this again, because Jade is such a motherfucker, but the destruction of Hod is his fault, and the destruction of Hod is the linchpin of Van's becoming a villain, because Hod is destroyed to fulfill the score. That is literally the entire reason. Because at that point, I think Kim Laska had won the war in Hod. Ow, fuck! I just got a cramp in my calf. What the fuck? Ow. At this point, Kim Laska has won the war in Hod, I think, they've made it very abundantly clear that they've won the war in Hod. And so the only way Malkuth can pull this off is either let the island go and let Kim Laska have it, or you blow it up. And the score says, well, let's blow it up. So they do. And the reason they have the ability to do that is because of the artificial hyperresonance machine that Jade Curtis made.
That dick.
The whole game happens because Jade Curtis can't let go of his dead teacher. That's it. Amazing. The whole game is Jade's fault.
Yep.
Incredible.
And then he still grows into being one of the most endearing characters ever.
He's so great at the end of the game. Oh my god, right?
Speaking of characters who also did very, very naughty things as children and then grew out of it, we have Guy.
Oh, Guy.
Who I keep forgetting that Guy was just straight up colluding with Van in the beginning.
Right?
Just straight up him and Van were just directly communicating.
They were like, yeah, let's fucking kill... I'm eating ice, by the way. Sorry, I'm really thirsty.
One day, Van was like, let's kill Luke. And Guy was like, okie dokie.
Let's do it. Let's take this cute kid, and his character model as a child is very cute. Let's traumatize the living fuck out of him. Oh my god. And then let's just send him to live with the person who murdered his entire family for the sole purpose of him growing up and murdering this kid. And, like, if you think about it, at that point, I don't even think Luke had been born yet. And I mean that, like, the actual Luke, like, the first Luke, as in Ash.
Yeah.
I don't even think Ash had been born at this point. Or when the war in Hoth happened, because Guy was so... Well, he might have been, but he was a baby.
Yeah.
The point I'm trying to make is... So, literally, I mean, if you think about it, how fucked up is that? Because Guy wasn't planning on killing Luke's dad.
Yeah.
Guy was planning on just killing Luke as this sort of horrible, fucked up retribution.
Yeah, it was payback. It
was payback.
I'm not gonna kill you, I'm gonna kill your family like you killed mine.
And I'm gonna make you live through it, but I think Luke's father is such a scumbag.
Yeah, oh god, yeah, he's totally just a dirtbag.
What a piece of shit, right?
Mm-hmm.
But, I mean, Guy is the one true, as they say on the Tumblr's cinnamon roll.
Yeah.
In Tales of the Abyss. I mean, even he did some fucked up stuff, don't get me wrong. But he definitely has more of a... I mean, he's really necessary, though.
Yeah.
You know, he's very necessary to the story, because if you didn't have somebody who actually had kind of an optimistic look on things, oh god, what
this game
a
would be
grim
so
story.
Dark.
Oh god, right? How grim would Tales of the Abyss be?
I think my favorite part of Guy's character is post-Exariuth, when he's with the party, and he just abruptly decides to leave because he's sick of Ash.
Oh my god. Yeah, me too, buddy. Trust me, I wished I could have left in those gameplay segments too.
Like,
don't get me wrong.
Like, he's basically like, you know what? I just realized I don't like you, so I'm gonna go.
I like Luke. I don't like you. And it's like, he's just so... Man, he has another one of those really good lines. Like, the game is full of really punchy lines.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because again, the writing is so good. Oh my god. He has the absolutely fantastic... I use this line on people who don't even know that it's from Tales. It's easy to see the silver lining when the cloud is at your own.
Yeah.
How great of a line is that?
Such a good line.
Isn't that so true?
Because that perfectly defines how he sees Luke, which is he's this kid who won't accept good things happening to him, but he's so happy when other people he's so eager to see the bright side of other people's situations, but he refuses to do it for his own.
Yeah, he's so willing to see the bright side in other characters that he still wants to see it in Van, the person who made him kill 50-some thousand people, but he can't see it in himself. And, like, Guy is aware of that, and Guy wants... I mean, Guy is so necessary, because he's like that big brother character.
Well, it's really like I keep saying about this game, special shout out to Luke's moral support, both of them. Because it's really just it's really just Tyr and Guy who are actually sticking behind him throughout the entirety of the series. Even Natalia gives up on him for a while.
Oh my god, we'll get to that in a minute. Yeah. But I definitely like that part where he does just decide, you know what, I'm leaving because you aren't Luke, you're Ash. You insist that you aren't Luke, you're Ash. And my friend, the person who I believe in, is back in the Cliff-Oth, and he's Luke, he's my friend. I'm going to go be there for him because I know he's suffering. And
then he
walked.
How
awesome. And then he
walked. He just straight up walked to the exit.
And I honestly don't know how he got there, because you have to get there by a boat. Yeah. And I'm like, I guess he just hitched a ride. Did he just, like, stick his thumb out, like, at a dock somewhere? And he's like, hey, I need to get to the entrance to hell. Like, what? How did he even know it was there? I have a lot of questions about that. Like, how did he know it was there? How did he get there in the first place? For that matter, how did Tyr get to the mines, the Orshan Caverns, after she bailed on everybody? How did she get there? That's what I want to know.
Yeah.
Look, it doesn't matter, but I do want to know that, because did she just hitch a ride with somebody? Who did she hitch a ride from? Because by that point, nobody from Belkend is going there anymore.
Yeah.
So how did she get there?
Did you call an Uber?
She called Uber. That's it. She called an Uber. She called an Uber, and she's like, I need a lift to this
Those
cave.
college students will do anything to get that money.
I don't blame them. I'm broke as shit too, man. So, frankly, yeah. The point is,
Guy is great, and he thinks he's such a dashing rogue, and I love him dearly.
And he's such a dashing rogue, and he can't touch women.
Yeah.
I love that about him.
Yeah.
I love that he says, I love looking at beautiful women. And I was like, oh my god, I love you.
He's great. And that's also super fucked up that he was trapped under a pile of bodies.
Under a pile of corpses, no big deal.
Yeah.
I mean, sure. Why does this game have to be so horrible to everybody?
You watching a little bit of Fate there when you were writing the game?
Oh my god, right? Like,
because
it really
that's such
does.
an anime thing. You know?
Yeah.
That's like specifically a dark anime thing, is to trap them under a pile of bodies.
Oh, absolutely, you're so right. Oh my god. Then I think about it, I'm like, man, that is a really fucking anime.
Like, not only is it just dark, it's a dark, specifically anime thing.
Yeah, because other dark shit doesn't do that, but dark anime has done it and will continue to do it. And it's always very effective, because the idea of it is so fucking horrifying.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to think what else. He definitely does have the best art set in the game.
Yeah.
I mean, even if he isn't, like, as great to play as Luke and Yuri, he's still a whole hell of a lot better than literally everybody else.
He also got a really cool fighting style with he draws his scabbard out and uses it as a backup weapon.
He uses it as, like, a backup weapon. How cool is that? He's just fun to play as, man. He's a fun character. He looks like Flynn.
Yeah.
A lot.
a lot.
So much that they actually use that joke in like the spin-off fandom games and stuff. Yeah, they do totally use that joke a lot. But yeah, man, it's just he's very necessary to the story, you know, because otherwise, like I said, Tales of the Abyss would be a very grim affair without him. Because he's a grounding element.
Yeah, he really is.
He functions almost as the player's voice, if you think about it, because he
really does.
Yeah, because he scolds long-haired Luke when Luke is being a little prick. And then when short-haired Luke is being so down on himself, Guy is there to go, no, everything's fine, I promise you're doing a lot better than you realize. He is really like he's the player's voice in this whole thing. He kind of says what we're all thinking.
Yeah, because most games, like that, you kind of focus on, you're supposed to stand behind the main character and, feel what they feel. But Luke is more written to be an observed character.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Guy is the one who reflects how you're feeling at the time.
And I think that's really good.
Yeah.
Like, that's good story writing, because it really allows, if your protagonist is there to be the voice of the player, then they don't really get a chance to kind of come into their own as a person. But because Guy is there, and if you think about it, in a lot of ways, Guy really is the more Tales protagonisty compared to all of the other Tales protagonists, like Mila and Lloyd and Yuri and Saray. He really is more Tales protaggy, because his character development is still really strong, but it's not, of all of the very severe character developments that happen to the game, Guy's is the most scaled back. He kind of starts out as the Sunny character, and he finishes as the Sunny character who has a very strongly rooted sense of right and wrong. He's on a quest for revenge, just like any good RPG protagonist. So all of these things, if you think about it, it's actually really interesting that the side character is the more standard Tales protagonist of the game.
It's kind of like how Vaughn is the player avatar for 12, but Bosch is the main character, or Balthier is the main character.
Exactly. Balthier is very much, it's the same thing there. And because of that, you really do get a chance to kind of to let the main character really grow into his own.
Yeah.
If you have somebody who's designated, who isn't the main protagonist, you really get a chance to see this character get a ton of growth. Because he's not shackled by, well, I have to be the character player voice.
Yeah.
So because of it, I mean, like, that's it's a good thing then that Guy's development is a bit more subdued compared to everybody else's. So yeah. I didn't really. I mean, I literally just had that realization right now when we were talking about it.
He's great. I love it.
Next.
Next is Annis.
Let's do Annis.
Annis! I have just one thing to say about Annis to start off with. Hey, Annis, you don't get to call other people out for being scumbags when you've been betraying the party the entire time.
See, okay, I'm gonna argue with you about this one, though, because I see that a lot. The thing is, I think they handled that really well, because, yeah, she's been betraying the party the whole time, and yeah, she's a huge hypocrite, but by the time we learn that Annis has betrayed the whole party, they have seen the effects of the way they treated Luke, and they all feel really shitty for it. And now they know, by the time we get the revelation with Annis, to not do that.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. You're right.
But it is still a shitty thing to do. But that's the whole point.
It feels like, compared to how they treated Luke, they also should know that they can't treat her softly for what she did, because Abyss is a game that's very much about facing consequences for your actions, and she does kind of get off pretty easy.
But I mean, I don't think so, considering the person she cared about the most in the entire world died.
Yeah.
As a director, I mean, as much as we dislike Ion, we'll get to that later, as much as we dislike Ion from a character thing, yeah, I mean, he really is the most important person in her world, so to have him die was already, like, a mess, and it was entirely her fault. I mean, it was entirely her fault.
Yeah, okay.
So to have him die is a major failure, and so to have them also heap it on her as, like, well, this is your fault, like they did at Xerius, I mean, it would have been counterproductive. She was aware that it was her fault.
Yeah, you've got a point there. Yeah.
Yeah, because she even says it. I mean, unlike Luke, who was denying it the whole time, she says, I killed Ion! And it's like, okay, she's aware of what she did. So now it's just like, somebody help this child.
Yeah.
Somebody help this child who literally had her entire childhood stolen away from her.
Yeah.
Because it's so sad. Because, man, when you come from, like, you know, you said you identify with Luke because, like, you know, depression and anxiety. Man, when you come from a background with parents who don't have a lot of money because maybe they can't manage their shit as well as you wish they could, you really, really learn to sympathize with Annis real fast.
Yeah, like, that's true.
Like, I'm not gonna, you know, say, because I love both my parents with all my heart and soul, and both of my parents are great with their money now. But my mom, back in the day, maybe wasn't as great with it. I hope she never listens to this.
She doesn't care about video games.
Thank God. She wasn't, back when I was a 13-year-old girl, and my whole life had just fallen apart, my mom wasn't great with money, and it's a very helpless thing. I mean, you feel very, very helpless the whole time, because you really have no say in anything.
Yeah, you're a kid, you don't get what's happening.
If you want to tell your mom, you can't really tell your parents, like, hey, stop blowing your money on stupid shit. They're not going to listen to you, and that's kind of where Annis is, and so, like, it makes a ton of sense for her to be as angry and bitter and willing to backstab anybody, because, I mean, when you're kind of in that situation, you'll do anything to get out of it. Oh my god. And so, like, yeah, I really like Annis, obviously. She's my second
She's one of the only, like, kid characters you actually like.
Her and Elise are my only two kid characters I actually like. I'm already preparing to be kind of annoyed by Lafayette in Berseria. I'm already kind of bracing myself for that. Like, I know it's coming.
For that level of disappointment.
He's cute. Like, his character design is cute, but we already had one cute kid, and it was Elise. Yeah. So, who is the most flawless of all the characters? But we'll get into that another day.
Yeah. Annis is... We've covered a lot of what Annis goes through, because Annis kind of is the lead, like, she drives the plot the least, but she's very much affected by everything that's happening because of her connection to Ion.
And that's an interesting way to put it, because Annis, she does drive the plot the least, but she's the most entrenched.
Yeah, she's deep in the politics of everything, more so than everyone else.
Yeah, because she mentions, she's the one who expresses all the other characters are like, get rid of the score, okay. Annis is the one who says, like, living in a world without the score sounds terrifying.
Yeah. She
grew up in it.
She's really one of the most honest characters. She's the only character in the party who goes by their birth name.
You're right.
Everyone else goes by a voluntary alias, or they had their identity stolen from them.
Exactly. Yeah, you're right. Oh man.
So she's like her job is the most legit job in the series. Mm-hmm. Because she's the only one who's not, like, either manipulating or being manipulated into doing a spy job, Like, her job as Ion's bodyguard is she's Ion's bodyguard.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, she's not using it to gain leverage with someone else.
Yeah, exactly. And the spy thing she does do is entirely outside of her control because, again, parents.
And it's not tied. It's a completely separate element from her duties. Yeah,
exactly.
Whereas Jade is using his position as a colonel to curry favor, and Tyr is using her position to further her own agenda. Mm-hmm. Like, Annis is the only one whose further agenda is completely independent of what she's doing for money.
Yeah, exactly. And, I think it was really important to have, she's not a civilian, obviously, because she is Ion's bodyguard, but she has a civilian's perspective on the world, where she grew up around the score. She understands that the score is important. She understands that the score brings balance, and it guides your life. And if you go against the score, your life can fall apart. All of these things that none of the other characters really express a belief or an investment in. So to have somebody in the party who does believe in that stuff and who does have a real investment in it because she grew up in it was really important, I think. Mm-hmm. Because otherwise you really couldn't understand in a way, well, why can't these people just let this go? And then you have Annis there to say, well, living in the world without the score sounds scary. Yeah. Because you've had the score guide your life your whole life. It's literally like letting go of somebody's hand.
Yeah, exactly.
And so for that reason alone, I think she's a really welcome and important. They're all important.
Yeah, they're all important, but we're talking about why they're important.
Exactly, and it's a good idea it was a good idea to make her a kid. Yeah. For this one, me and children characters, this one time I think it was smart to make her a kid because it kind of explains, especially her hesitation to let go of the score, because she is a child and she doesn't want the world to lose its mind if things go wrong. Yeah. She's a 13-year-old girl and she just wants things to be okay. And if you let go of the score and everything falls apart like everybody says it will, that's pretty terrifying. So yeah, I love Annis. I love Annis.
And then we have the final of the party members.
Oh my god, you mean the best character in this game?
Save the best for last, Natalia.
Oh my god, Natalia Luzu Kimlaska Lanvaldir. Her and her fucking mouthful of a name.
Well, I want to bring up that right now. What's up with Hod and names?
Oh my god, right? What the fuck? Everybody has the most ridiculous names. Mysterica, Aura... What is it?
I don't even fucking remember.
It's Mysterica, Aura, Fende. Yeah. And then they changed it to Grants. And then it's Vanda Stelka,
Musto Fende.
Musto Fende. Jesus Christ.
And then Guy is Guylardia, Gowan, Gardios.
Gardios. Like, chill the fuck out. Oh my god. Is it just a thing? Because, like, even his sister, he calls her Mary, but her full name is Maribel. Yeah. Okay?
Is it just a Hod thing where you just get, like, fucking just keyboard mash?
maybe it is. Maybe it's like a cultural thing. With all the fucking world building in this game, it would not surprise me one goddamn bit if it actually was a cultural thing in HUD to have really convoluted fucking names, okay? Like, you wouldn't shock me one bit, man. If somebody went like, yeah, it's a totally like a normal, socially acceptable thing in HUD culture to give all of your children really long, convoluted, hard to pronounce names, I would go, yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, makes sense considering all the other fucking world building in this game.
But no, Natalia is, like you said in the beginning, I used to fucking hate her, and now I can't believe I ever thought that way, because she's great.
I want to say I'm very proud I talked you out of that.
Yeah, you did
I know, I am very proud I talked you out of hating, because when you told me about this game, you said you were gonna hate Natalia, and I went, probably. And then I got it, and I met Natalia, and I was like, he's right, I do hate Natalia. And then I played the game for 20 more hours, and I went, Ben is wrong. Ben is wrong. I'm gonna convince this man otherwise.
And then you talked me out of it.
I talked you out of it, because Natalia is the best representation of a princess character this game ever has had, and ever will have. I like Alicia Difta in Zestiria a lot. Natalia is a better princess character than her. She's a better princess character than Estelle.
Natalia is going to help you and save you whether you like it or not.
Like it or not. She's the most aggressively nice, helpful character in the game. The part that really made me go from like, ugh, Natalia, to, oh, I would follow you into hell, is the part when you get to Exarius and Luke says, Natalia, don't touch them, they're dirty, and she gets so mad. She just stands up and whips around on his ass and says, they're dirty? What are you talking about? Don't say things. She gets so mad at him, and I was just like, oh my god, I would do anything for you, because it would have been so easy to make her go, sick people, I don't know what to do. Yeah. No. Holy shit, she charged right into it.
Take action. Natalia, I told you this before, and I love this example. Natalia approaches being, like, nice and helping people the way most supervillains approach vengeance.
You're right, exactly. That's exactly it.
She is literally, fools, I'll show them all, as she opens up a new orphanage.
And, oh god, I think of any character, and I've talked a lot, and I've gotten very emotional while talking about this game. I think of everybody's character arc, Natalia probably makes me just cry openly the hardest, because there's the part when you're running away from Batical, and all of the townspeople are like, they don't even, because the crazy thing is, if you think about it, in their world, like, photographs and stuff don't exist, I guess.
They don't really know what Natalia
looks
like they just know that she's the princess.
And they know, like, without even having seen her ever in some cases, they know that the girl running away from the knights is Natalia, and they know they have to protect her because she has changed their lives for, like, the better.
Exactly.
And you're like, oh my god, it's so, like, she is the there's a line in Vesperia, actually, where Yuri says, nobles should be, noble. Yeah. That is exactly the embodiment of Natalia's character right there. She is a noble character done right, where she understands, I am in a position of authority. I should use my authority to make people's lives better.
Oh, she's great.
Oh my god.
I love her.
And the cool thing is that none of her character drama comes from the fact that she's a princess. Yeah. I think that's one of the best things they did in the game. All of her character, I mean, it comes from the fact that she's a princess, but not for the reason you think. Yeah. There's no, like, there's none of that bullshit, well, I'm a princess, I can't help everybody moment, thank God.
There's it's not, there's no, like, it's lonely at the top, or there's no, like, she's never burdened with the responsibility or anything like that. It all comes from other people, talking of, like, it all comes from the villains, really.
Yeah, exactly.
And how things that are out of her control, and how manipulation and stuff like that, which is the name of the game for Abyss.
Exactly, no lie. And I love her. I love this character. I draw a line under the words I love her because I'm so glad they didn't go that route. Mm-hmm. I am so glad they basically just said Natalia is an aggressive do-gooder.
Yeah.
And she might come across as incredibly overbearing. Maybe I like Natalia so much because I identify with this character. Maybe that's what it is. Because she comes across as overbearing and occasionally obnoxious, but, like, in her heart, she's always trying to do the right thing. She's always wanting to do right by everybody. You know, she fucks up when it comes to Luke, especially with the whole bailing on Ash thing.
Yeah. And
bailing on Luke thing.
We'll get into that when we get into Ash, but yeah.
Oh god, Ash is the burden of this game. Ash is Natalia's one failing point, mm-hmm. and really that's not even her fault. It's bad writing.
Yeah.
Natalia herself is incredible. And I think the resolution with her and her dad, I've never cried harder in a video game than I did in that moment where she says, the thing that hurt most was not being your daughter.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Oh my god. I can just, like, cry thinking about it right now. I'm just like, oh my god, it's so sad. Like, just to have, like, your dad. I mean, because again, like you said, everything that happens to her is entirely based on manipulation from outside sources. So she's completely helpless.
Yeah.
When somebody says your dad doesn't think of you as your dad anymore.
Yeah.
Like, there's nothing she can do. She didn't do anything wrong. It's entirely on somebody else's manipulation that's making him think that. And so, like, all she can think is, oh my god, my daddy doesn't love me anymore. How horrible is that? Oh my god. It's so sad. Like, that resolution with her character and the way they handle her being Largo's daughter is really, really strong. And we haven't really talked about anybody's interactions with the God Generals.
No,
we've already been talking for like 40 minutes.
There's so much to talk about in this game.
Oh my god, I know!
I still have, like, tons of bullet points I want to get to, and we're already this far in.
I know, because there's so much in this game. Holy shit, I'm just saying, please play Tales of the Abyss. That's the whole point I'm trying to make. Because if you haven't played it yet, then I've spoiled everything about it. And I'm sorry, but it's still worth it. Because it's so good.
We will probably, like, out of all of them, this will probably be one we have to do a part 2 of.
We'll have to, because we don't have enough time to talk about how good the God Generals are.
We literally don't. We can probably spend an entire podcast talking about side B of the protagonists.
Yeah, exactly, because that's what they are.
Yeah.
But I think just to kind of get this out of, I think the resolution between her and Largo is really well done.
Yes.
She never really tries to. She wants to understand him without wanting to be seen as his daughter, because she is not his daughter.
Yes, it's very good that she never tries to redeem him the way that Luke tries to do with Van.
Right.
She just wants to understand and comprehend why he would do the things he does.
Right, shit. Hold on, I gotta go.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I have to go. I need to switch windows because the Bronze Agents game is doing roll call right now. And I need to say shit. Hold on.
Yep.
Hold on.
It's all good.
Hold on. Still podcast. I can't type with my mic on top of my computer. Podcasting. Okay. There.
Okay.
Did I? Okay. Okay.
Alright, so
we'll try and wrap this up really fast.
Yeah, we'll combine the last two. Okay, last thing I want to say about Natalia.
Go for it.
I really wish she was archers are cool. I wish she was more archer and less healer.
Oh my god, right? Oh my god. Why couldn't she have had an art set more like Raven's?
Yeah, seriously.
Like, why couldn't she be more of like a physical kind of fast? I guess because, you know, they have to do it as a balancing thing.
Yeah.
But Jesus Christ, couldn't you give her more, like, I don't know. I don't even know.
More combat arts.
More combat-y arts. Or maybe just make her physical attacks not such a fucking drag.
Yeah. Ugh. So Natalia is clearly one of the best characters, and again, she's only suffering because of playstyle. And the last bit I want to cover, I guess we'll cover everything else in part 2 eventually.
Oh my god, there's so much to say. Go for it.
I'll combine these two into our last major category.
Go for it.
Because they're both the same. Ash and Ion are the fucking worst.
Ash and Ion are the fucking worst. They are both the worst parts collectively of Tales of the Abyss. Ash is never I never like Ash. There's nothing Ash could do to make me like him. When he died, I really was not that sad.
No, so here's the problem with Ash, is that most of the characters, especially, like Jade especially, or Guy, have reasons behind, lying to the party, or, not revealing details at crucial times, either because of their own emotional, stunting, or they are being manipulated by someone else to not reveal it, or they don't know what's relevant at the time to reveal. Right. Ash deliberately holds the party back out of spite.
And it's the worst.
When he could be helping them further his goals, he will sabotage his own progress if it means hurting the party that he's supposedly trying to help out.
Which is such bullshit. Yeah. And, sorry, Tales of the Abyss, you'll never sell me on Ash and Natalia's relationship because it's so fucking out of character for her.
Ash drags her down so much because every time he is within vicinity of her, she turns into this weepy, swooning, overly emotional, dependent person.
And it's nothing like her.
No, it's absolutely
like they forgot.
Not like her at all.
Because, it'd be one thing, I'd understand if, maybe that was, a character flaw or something. Yeah. I don't know. But the thing is, it's not like her at all. It would be more like Natalia if she was still in love with him, but called him out on his bullshit. Yeah. But she never does. It's like they forgot what kind of a person Natalia is.
It's so out of character for Natalia to behave the way she does around him.
Oh my
Especially
God, I get sick
when we see her around other loved ones, not acting any differently.
Yeah, I get sick every time in Ocean Cavern where she trips and he catches her.
Eye rolling.
Gag,
just,
right?
Oh, come the fuck on.
Fuck you. Fuck off. Is anybody buying that even for a second? Oh God, you'll never sell me on that ship as long as I live.
Ash is Ash goes out of his way to contradict himself within the same conversation.
I know.
There's a point where I was where Ash shot down any chance of being a decent character in my mind.
I know what you're about to say.
It is the part where he's confronting Luke, and he's I can't remember the exact context, but Luke is...
I know what it is. It's after he's met Peony, because it's the conversation on the bridge, isn't it?
Yes, where he's Luke is complaining because he always does that, and Ash tells him to shut up and stop complaining, and then 5 seconds of dialogue later, he's yelling at him for for being optimistic about something.
Right? What the fuck? Oh my God, I hate you!
Within the same conversation, he's contradicting himself just because he hates Luke that much, and he's such a petty asshole about everything.
He is the least likable.
I remember what it is. It is the part where Luke is like, I'm a replica. I'm your replica, okay? I don't want to be Luke anymore. You can have the Luke identity. And Ash is like, shut up, stop calling yourself just a replica. You should think higher of yourself. And then in the same conversation, he's like, what are you saying? You're just another pathetic replica. Who cares about you?
I hate him.
Complete contradiction. It's ridiculous. I hate this character so much.
He's so unlikable. He does almost nothing. Literally the only good thing that came out of Ash at all, other than Luke, is the fact that Meaning of Birth is a really fucking awesome song, and it plays during that duel.
He gets a cool boss fight, and that is it.
He gets a cool-ass boss fight with the best fucking, duel... Because, there's, always a duel theme for every game. He gets the best duel theme in the entire fucking series. Meaning of Birth is that goddamn good that it is the, soul-redeeming factor for Ash's entire existence. Otherwise, I could do without that character.
Fuck off with that character.
Fuck off.
I will never, ever sympathize or support him or do anything. He's just intolerable.
He's unlikable. He's rude. I hate him.
He's
I cannot
useless.
Stand him. He's useless. He somehow manages to have the exact same art set as Luke, but he plays so much worse.
Yeah,
I don't even know how that
terrible.
happens. He's so slow. How does that even happen? They're the same fucking art set, and yet somehow Ash feels slower and shittier than Luke ever does, and Luke is not a shining example of playtime in Tales of the Abyss.
No.
But
And then, we've got to do it. I've got to get the bile out.
Oh my god, do it,
Ion
please.
is the fucking worst character in Tales, period.
In the entire fucking series.
I hate Ash. I hate Colette. I hate X1 Ivar. I hate Sodia. None of them come even close to how much I despise Ion as a character. In a game where every single character goes through such great growth and development and change and becomes so endearing after starting off so horrible, Ion completely subverts all of that by contributing nothing at all, for no growth, no development, no character, no nothing. He is absolutely nothing.
He's nothing. He's nothing. He has no character traits. I know nothing. By the end of Tales of the Abyss, I know next to nothing about this character. I don't know what he likes. I don't know what he dislikes. I don't know what he thinks is funny. And I guess the point they were trying to make is that he's like the ideal replica because he has no like conscious feeling about anything.
Here's the problem about that. And I read that opinion. Like when I was doing research for this, like refreshing myself about it. I read that the reason Ion is so bland is because he's a newborn replica and all he knows is the score. Here's the problem with that, and here's why it doesn't work. In a game like Abyss, where we don't have a sort of omnipresent narrator to kind of guide us and kind of... When you're reading a work of fiction like this with a lot of moral ambiguity and a lot of changing like that, you need the characters of the story to kind of guide how you're supposed to feel. Games like, especially with the Tales games, where they have a different moral or a different theme throughout each game, and there's no like centralized theme that you can expect from the developers themselves to say here is our overarching theme. You have to rely on the characters to tell you this behavior is wrong or in this particular situation, or this behavior is right in this particular situation. Which is why the whole thing with Exarius is so good, is because your party is split in half and you don't get a majority of the party to say whether or not Luke is sympathetic or should be shamed for what he did.
Right.
At no point in the game does anyone say to Ion, it's really weird that you don't seem to have any hobbies, or you don't seem to have any interests outside of the score. Not even Annis seems to find that odd. Like, at no point does Annis say, geez, Ion, all you do is talk about the score.
Right. So there's no, like, indication that he really is just, like, a replica whose whole existence is lives and dies, quite literally, on the score.
Yeah, and there's no point where the characters acknowledge his behavior as being weird, so we as the players are told, okay, his behavior's not weird, it's accepted, and so there's nothing odd about this character, so there's nothing to make us go, that is weird that he doesn't seem to have any outside interest. We just see him as a boring character.
He's just boring. He's bland. He has no... there's nothing for this character. He has no redeeming moments because there's nothing to really redeem. He just kind of exists. Yeah. He's a key item. He is a key item.
In a game like this, and we talked about this earlier.
Oh my god.
In a game where one of your party members, Mew, is literally a key item in your inventory, Mew has more growth and development as a character than Ion does at all. Hell, Florian, who shows up in like 3 scenes, has a stronger personality than Ion.
Right? Like, Florian literally has maybe a handful of scenes, and yet in those handful of scenes, he becomes instantly more likable, more identifiable. He has an actual personality. You know what he likes and dislikes. Granted, what he likes and dislikes.
Bratty. We see him being impatient, you know. He's kind of a spoiled, like, he's kind of a bratty kid who runs around and does his own thing. He doesn't comprehend, punishment and stuff like that. We see him as a character in just a few small scenes that Ion doesn't get at all.
There's literally not a single moment that I can think of in a game I've played a whole fucking lot that really establishes Ion as an actual character and not just as a key you wave around in front of a door in front of the fucking Sephiroth to go inside. You could replace Ion with a stick and you would get basically the same fucking plot. The only good thing Ion does is save Tears' life.
Yeah, there's one thing, and I think it fits so well, and I want to do this for the entire podcast, for the entire character arc, but we can't do it now.
Oh my god.
We kind of already did it. But there's the Phantom Menace Plinkett review scale, which is...
I know, you said you wanted to do that, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay, we wouldn't have had time to do it anyway, but I want to do it for Ion himself. I just want to bring it up, which is the Plinkett scale of character development is this. It applies to the Star Wars prequels and the original trilogy. which is describe a character without mentioning their appearance, their job, or their role in the story. Describe this character to someone who has never seen Star Wars. And the idea is that you can't do it to the prequel characters, because they're all so deeply rooted into exactly what's happening on camera at all times. They have nothing outside of those characters. You can't do it with Ion either.
Oh my
Ion
God,
is
there's
literally
nothing.
just such a plot device.
He is. He's a plot device. He has no... I mean, he has nothing really going for him. I don't understand. And the thing is, the one true shame of a Tales of the Abyss, the one thing they really fucked up, is that they never tell you. You have to find it out in external media, and... Because, like, there's comics, there's manga and shit like that. We never get to see it, but the original Ion was a real fucking weirdo.
Oh, dude.
And we get no indication whatsoever in the game of that character. He kept Arietta as his personal pet. The whole game, Van's plot, it centers on the fact that he was colluding with the original Ion. We get no indication. There is no flashback to that Ion, and I would have given anything to see him.
It would have been perfect. It would have fit so well. And
God.
it's a shame, because it's the same thing we've talked about with Colette. Like, at least Colette has dogs.
Well, Colette has dogs, and I can respect that.
She has that. And again, it's the same thing with Colette. Is I don't understand why the fandom latches onto Ion and Ash so well. They're terrible.
Oh my God. They're awful. They're fucking awful. There's nothing like about either of them that I can think of off the top of my head.
No, I cannot recall a single moment where I'm like, at least he has that.
I can think of one for Ash, but even then he fucks it up by being Ash.
Yeah.
It's the part where he meets his mom again.
Yeah.
He fucks that up by being Ash. You know? Like, he could have had a moment where, like, he really talked to his mother, and instead he just storms out like a petulant child.
Ash,
you know?
Ash is so bad that out of the 3 costumes he has, one of them is broken.
You're right. I forgot about that. His hair costume is fucked up.
It doesn't work.
God.
It doesn't trigger when you put it on. His hair stays
God.
the same.
I hate this guy. I hate this guy.
Oh, I hate Ash. I hate Ion. I hate that they're forced upon you so hard in this game.
Oh, I hate that the fandom loves them so much. Ugh, I could just gag every time I see them. Because they're just so dull. I mean, Ash isn't dull, he's just unlikable. Ion is dull.
Ion
is dull! There's nothing to Ion. Ion is a tabula rasa for people to project their feelings onto.
Yeah.
That's why people like Ion so much.
Because he's cute, kind of.
He's cute, but even then, kind of not really.
Yeah, he wears a dumb dress.
He wears a dumb dress.
He wears
It's not
a
even
baptism
cute dress.
gown.
And it's not even, he doesn't even look cute in
Yeah.
it. I mean, he just kind of looks like a teapot.
Ion is the epitome of the sickly, wayfish, shrine maiden character.
Except he's a boy,
Yeah.
which I guess is the only subversion there. But then they didn't go any further with it. They
Yeah.
could have pushed it so much further and really, like, gone with the whole, like, the fact that Ion is the sickly wayfish shrine maiden character, but he's a boy. You really could have done something with that. You could have made him kind of, like, weird about it because he thinks he should be strong like Luke.
Yeah.
And, like maybe somebody could be like, you can be strong in other ways, Ion. There's nothing wrong with the fact that you're kind of physically weak. But no.
You know what? That's the other sticking point as well. I just remembered that. Speaking of Ion and Luke. Ion is the only one who actually likes Luke for a while. We're given no reason why. He's just, like, as a sign of how nice and polite and friendly he is, he likes Luke. Even
he
when Luke
sees the good in Luke.
Yeah, which
which
completely subverts the whole point of Luke's early character.
There's nothing likable
which
about
is
it.
that he's a prick.
He's a prick. I mean, yeah. I just it's so boring.
So boring and annoying.
So boring. Whatever.
Ugh.
I'm glad we got that off our chest.
Yes, that feels so much better.
Right?
God.
Man, we really will have to do another one of these down the line in a few weeks, because, I mean, I honest to God think you and I could talk about just the score and its influence on Aldrin.
Dude, I've had, like, I literally have been up at night, certain nights, just trying to comprehend what exactly the score entails, and how much of it affects the world of Aldron, how much influence it actually has, and what it physically means. And by God, we might have to make this a 3-parter, because I could talk for an hour and a half about the score alone.
I swear to God, because it is the most important part. Because the writing in Abyss is so good that even with how fucking awesome as the character writing is in the game, the plot writing itself, because like Tales games are known for being good characters, plot. You know, like that's Tales' shtick. Like, the plot in Symphonia is okay, the plot in Exilia is okay, the plot in Vesperia is not great, but the characters are awesome. But like Abyss its plot is so rich, and there's so many good moments, and there's the world they exist in is such an interesting concept. How do you deal with living in a world where your religion is 100% true?
Yeah.
That is it, because the score does not... All religions... I'm not a very religious person, you know this.
Yeah.
And you're more religious than I am. All religions based in our world exist on the concept of faith.
Yeah. You have to just believe in it. Whereas in this, this is fact. Here is your concrete, straight up, like, here it is.
Proof. Your religion is real. There is no faith involved. That is a wild idea.
God,
right? The idea of a religion that requires no faith at all is bizarre. Mm-hmm. And it's like, how do you cope with existing in a world like that? What do you do? Do you divorce yourself entirely from the score?
But how can you?
But how can you? How much of it guides your life no matter what? Like, even if you actively, like they do in Abyss, oh my god, we're getting on this topic and we can't.
No, okay.
But if you actively against the score like they do in Abyss, at the end of the day, it still kind of implies that they didn't.
Yeah.
That the score was still true no matter what.
Oh
my god.
Oh, yeah, I have... Yeah, I completely underestimated
bizarre.
how long you would take for us to talk about the characters.
Because I love those characters, so I'm really sorry about that.
No, it's okay. It turned out great. But, like, yeah, we will definitely cover this one again.
We will come back to this one in a few weeks.
Yes. There are gaps in the schedule.
We
we can fit this in.
Good. Good.
For now, though, we should head out.
Because we've still got to play. We've got to play Bronze Age.
We've got a game to play.
Oh, it's so good. I don't want to miss it. That's the thing.
So thanks to Visager for use of our background music. Link to their work in the description as always. You can email us at thegorgepodcast.bsky.social if you want to talk about Tales of the Abyss. Give us some talking points.
We love talking about Tales of the Abyss, obviously.
We would love to talk about anything. If you want to send us hate mail for hating Ion and Ash, go right ahead.
We'll tell you how wrong you are.
Follow us on Twitter at thegorgepodcast. Next week will probably be a little late.
Because I'm going on vacation.
Because Sarah will be gone. But we're going to come back and we are going to do a wrap-up for Fallout 4.
We're finally going to we're going to bury that bone.
Yeah, that is. We're going to
this time.
Put the nail in the coffin on that one. And
shame. And then we'll be done.
Yes.
Damn, holy shit, we talked about Tales of the Abyss for an hour and 42, almost 45 minutes. Holy shit.
We're going to cumulatively talk about this game for like 6 hours of our podcasting time by the end of it.
God, we have to, oh my god, it's so rich. Mm-hmm. Please play Tales of the Abyss. Even with all these spoilers, play Tales of the Abyss. I promise you, if you've never played Tales of the Abyss before, as much as we are talking about it right now, we will never be able to cover or adequately express the depth of storytelling in this game. So please play Tales of the Abyss.
Please do so.
Do yourself that favor. It's good, even with all of its terrible parts.
Alright, I think that's it for us then?
Yes, it is.
Alright, fuck Dima.
Fuck Dima!
Good night, everyone.
Good night!